Hey everybody, how you doing out there? It's Ukraine Update here with the Shills. We got Secular Sakai in with us from Tridents Against Tyrants. How's it going, buddy?
Not bad.
Good,
Glad
good.
to be here.
Awesome. We got Yana from Project Constantine in the house, of course. Everything good?
Hey guys.
Awesome. Yep. Cool. We've got Slavy with us, and we're live on her channel as well. So big shout out to all the viewers over there. How's things, Slavy? Feeling good?
Feeling great.
Awesome. And we've got Commander McMillan, retired U.S. Navy, who's always got a little bit more finger on the pulse of what's going on than the average person. How's it going, Commander? Things good?
Pretty good.
Awesome. So where do we start? I mean, should we've got some pictures here. So, as you know, the Ukrainians decided to take a holiday. The war got to be a bit much, so they went over to see what Kursk is like. Traditionally founded by Ukrainian citizens anyway. And we got some photos here. So they're hanging out by the Ork Hotel. Looks like they're just stopping to have a little drink here. We got a couple other guys hanging out. Looks like they're sharing a good drink there. This, unfortunately, is the inside of one of the hotel bars. I really think the Ukrainians are going to have to make an effort to clean that up, because that's not a watering hole that good, hard-working soldiers should be in. We've got another picture here. This is a special brigade. You haven't seen these guys before, but they go in first, and they're the real muscle, right? And here's another one of the, you see, this is not how you keep your watering holes up. The Kursk region needs Ukraine to show them how to handle hospitality and stuff. And so we wanted to share, just keep you informed, keep you up to date. Shout out reminder here. We've got the NAFO 69 Sniffing Brigade campaign going. It's stalled a little bit on us. So this month we're going to be throwing a lot of the Boom Boom Fund into it. Hashtag Boom Boom in the chat there. Direct donations can go directly to NAFO if you want to do it that way. It works great. It's actually how you're going to get a good patch out of it. And you can see that the Portuguese battalion are honoring Sam Nui, fallen soldier, fallen hero. It's a great cause, and it deserves some support. So we hope y'all can do as much as you can to help us close this one out. Commander, where do you want to start today? Lots going on.
Well, let's start with the actions in Kursk Oblast. I won't say the offensive is petering out, but it's obvious that the initial surprise has worn off, and they're having a much tougher time pushing forward. Whether that's because resistance is particularly strong, or because they're simply being more cautious because they've expanded a salient out there, and whenever you do that, you have your flanks are notoriously dangerously exposed, so you don't want to get attacked on the sides and get cut off. But the rate of advance is slowed. I think we talked about it last week, and I said I figured that the offensive would probably culminate within the next 2 to 3 weeks, but they're still gaining ground, and they're gaining it at apparently far less cost and at a greater rate than the Russians are doing down south on the Avdiivka direction.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that this is causing Russia to do some reworking of troops? Do you think this will help slow the incursion into Ukraine now, because there's so many Ukrainians taking it so much?
Whether it will slow the Russian advance in other areas, I don't know, but we definitely know it's having an effect in terms of troop units being pulled out of other sectors. And they're not pulling just run-of-the-mill units to throw in and stop things. They're actually pulling out more experienced veteran units to try and apparently counterattack. And to my thinking, if you're going to do that from one sector of the front, pull out your good units, then necessarily your offensive in that area is going to slow down, if not stop outright. So that would be my guess. The other thing that I think is noteworthy is the Ukrainians are now targeting bridges and other key lines of transportation that approach in from the Russian side of the lines up there in Kursk area. So they're trying to do something to impede the Russian ability to advance against them. So obviously they're concerned about that. But the flip side of that equation is whenever you take out a bridge, you make it harder for your opponent to attack in that direction because he has to put in a temporary bridge to get across that water obstacle. But equally important, it means you're going to have to do the same thing if you intend to advance in that direction.
Right.
So it's a two-edged sword.
Yeah, very much.
We know that some of the direction the Ukrainians are advancing has altered, and they're actually moving into Belgorod Oblast now. They're not making a huge amount of progress in that direction. Apparently, it's because the Russian defenses are better organized in that area. Also because they weren't caught by surprise like the guys in the Kursk border regions were. I suspect that what will happen is the Ukrainians will decide that, as they did down south in the Zaporizhia area, attacking into a fortified position is kind of a losing proposition. So they won't be going in that direction much further.
Right.
They'll simply hold the ground they have.
I have a fun fact.
Sure.
After just 1 week of operations in Kursk region, the Ukrainian Defense Forces have already reclaimed about 1,000 square kilometers of territory. So to put that in perspective, this is more ground than Russia has managed to advance in Ukraine since the beginning of the year, despite suffering 230,000 casualties in combat.
Yeah.
And
Really incredible.
When you hear a stat like that, it's more than just some, some older military gear or something. There's training issues, there's management issues, and there's got to be morale issues. Like, that's systemic through through the whole thing, wouldn't it be, Commander?
Yeah, very much so. And I also think one of the problems is command structure. And I'm going to bore people with another historical parallel, but
context is important.
Yeah, that when the Germans attacked France in 1940, in 6 weeks, France surrendered. What a lot of people don't realize is that France had more troops in the field, had more tanks in the field, and in many cases, they were better tanks than what the Germans had. The reasons the Germans succeeded is their command structure knew how to move rapidly, attack where the enemy wasn't, exploit the holes that they created in the line. And the French were never really able to get back on their feet after the initial attack. They were just thrown for a loop, and every time they started to, we'll counterattack over here, and by the time they had the counterattack positioned and ready to go, the front had already advanced elsewhere, so it rendered such a counterattack pointless.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what's going on with the Russians, is they're very methodical. Hence, you see this whole thing with, the massive artillery preparation and then this slow, costly advance. They don't know how to react against a truly mobile force. And that's what the Ukrainians are in many cases, that they're a mobile force when they're doing these kind of offensive operations. So the Russians are left kind of scrambling to catch up.
And there's a lack of adaptability on the fly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And, going back to something, actually, one thing I want to say first is it's also the psychology of it all. The fact that the Ukrainian armed forces were able to gain so much ground so quickly. We're all aware that the Russians, like, no one was expecting it really when it happened. But it just goes to show kind of the geopolitical audacity on the part of the Russian Federation of Moscovia, because they assumed, oh, they'll just play by our rules. We have them on the defensive. They won't risk we're already lobbing bombs at each other, but there would be no ground offensive into our territory because red lines, and we've put enough propaganda out there that they're afraid of tactical nuclear bombs. And well, this is proven and really opened Pandora's box for the other side to realize, oh, we've been invaded and we've lost territory. Ukrainians have liberated territory that was under our control, but no nukes have gone off.
Yep.
It started, I know like we may not feel like it now, but it started chaos in the Kremlin. Those walls are coming down because it's chaos.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
At the same time, I think you need to realize that Putin and the very inner circle are actually using this as an opportunity to consolidate power. So, for example, the head of the propaganda information warfare group, it was usually assigned, or previously assigned, I should say, to the Ministry of Defense. It's been taken away from MOD and is now resident, reporting directly to the president. You've seen Shoigu fired and replaced. He's getting rid of all the people he didn't feel were entirely comfortable and loyal. So, and
winning strategy right there.
Well, yeah, a winning strategy, because he's more and it speaks volumes to me that he's far more concerned with a coup than he is what's going on the battlefield out there.
Oh,
and I think that's one of the key things, is that what's going on the battlefield is applying increasing political pressure to him. And he's getting more and more nervous because, this was supposed to start out as a 3-day special military operation, and then we'd have sunflowers and bread and salt as we march through the streets of Kyiv. And, here we are almost
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5, coming close on 3 years into this stupid thing.
Yeah.
And his political capital amongst the ruling elite is definitely starting to slip, particularly because all of the oligarchs are losing money because of the sanctions. And that's one of the driving factors for the oligarchy, is get rich and keep getting richer. So all this is putting pressure on him. So, as I said, I think he's far more worried about what happens internally than he is about what's happening on the front lines. But at the same time, he's riding that tiger. He has to grip for dear life, because if he falls off, he's a dead man.
Okay, I got to hit the button.
Some analysts say, that's funny. Some analysts say that Gerasimov and Shoigu, they knew about it and didn't tell him about the incursion.
That's interesting.
Wow.
I could see that.
I read
particularly when you get a big leader like this who starts replacing all the experienced quasi-professionals that are filling these roles with his loyalist guys who tend to be kind of incompetent and inexperienced, things just get worse.
Didn't he put somebody's bodyguard in a pretty high position after just 24 hours of firing?
Yeah.
That's chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, and sorry, were you getting ready to say something, Yana?
Yeah, Yana.
Yeah. I read a tweet that was taken from someone. Basically tweeted what this guy was, a Russian soldier who did not, someone relatively high up, I think, but he did not agree with the full-scale invasion in the first place. And he actually went online, don't know where, I just read the English version of it, basically criticizing the entire thing, and said that from his point of view, all those pushes into Russia that you've seen from the Free Russia movement and the Russians fighting for Ukraine, they were actually just testing the boundaries and testing to see what is the, how long does Russia take to respond to this attack, and how far are they willing to go before Russia does anything. And he said, based on Ukraine kept pushing those attacks, and they saw that Russia is not changing anything. because it keeps being easy to do this. So from his point of view, he looks at it and says, this is very bad play on the part of Russia. And it was just an interesting perspective to hear it kind of being like, because we were all wondering like, what the hell is up with all these little quick trips into Russia, right?
Yeah.
And if it comes down, if it was a thing of like testing things, that makes sense. But I think ultimately the big thing is like, what is the end goal? And I think as much as like we can sit and wonder what it is, we're not in the war room. We're not mapping anything, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Personally, I'm like, if we can get Kursk Oblast, that is 2,000 square kilometers bigger than Crimea. So I wonder if we could swap. That would be really cool.
Prisoner swap, Kursk for Crimea.
That would be pretty cool. But yeah.
I want to expand on that also and say, not just Kursk and Belgorod, but Bryansk. Yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, but a state of emergency was declared in all three as well. So the Russian, on the Russian side, they're looking, they're looking at this and, saying, okay, we don't want another surprise, so let's go ahead and just declare an emergency in any place another attack could happen. But one place I haven't heard much about, which is still related to this war. Remember, everyone, from early 2022, when all of this started, where the initial invasion force came from, Lukashenko's home turf.
Yep.
So I keep looking and wondering, where's Terra going to wind up? Where are these other units, the Belarusians, fighting for Ukraine? And, I will not speculate any further on that, and we'll see what happens. That's the mystery.
I think that's a hornet's nest they don't want to whack for fear of the bugs coming out and attacking.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, on the side of...
Well, I got a really good shout out to do here. So, Joe, I don't find your name as it's in the message here in the live chat, and I don't want to be doxing people out and stuff. So, I'll watch in the live chat to see if somebody goes, "Oh yeah, me," or whatever. But $197 direct donation into the Boom Boom Fund to be sent over to the NAFO fundraiser.
Hey,
big
very nice.
shout out. Oh yeah. Yeah, you know what? For that, you get the Captain Kirk Blue Dancing Girl. There you go. Don't ask why. It's an old joke.
Oh, those Andorians.
This is yep. I love this channel.
We do it our way, man. What are you gonna do?
I've got a short piece of news here since we were still on the topic of Kursk Oblast. If you guys would like, and it's a pretty short one. It's an article from pravda.com.ua. Very interesting because this is something there's been a lot of speculation of what's going on in Kursk, what is the end game, and my take has been one of two situations. Either really just don't go too far, don't take too much, so much that it would become a burden to hold all of that territory if you took too much of Kursk, but just enough to have a bargaining chip to force Putin to the negotiating table. Or if the Russians truly prove incompetent and Ukraine is able to take a large enough portion of Kursk, the Freedom of Russia Legion is one such group that is involved in all this. And depending on the amount of support they can get domestically within Russia and internationally, you could see perhaps a free state separate from Moscovia. A long shot, but hypothetically possible. And so here's the update. Freedom of Russia Legion appeals to Russian military amid battles in Kursk Oblast. Volunteers from the Freedom of Russia Legion, also known as Legion Svoboda, who are fighting on the side of Ukraine, are calling on the Russian soldiers to surrender with the possibility of joining the Ukrainian army. A source from the Freedom of Russia Legion, quote, "Your political advisors, while sitting it out behind the front lines, strongly recommend that you should not surrender, but rather blow yourself up with your own grenade. But hundreds of Russian soldiers who ignore the criminal order, choosing to live rather than die for a new medal or another mansion for Valery Gerasimov, Chief of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces and First Deputy Minister of Defense. This decision is a healthy alternative to mindless death. We call on all members of the Russian Armed Forces to voluntarily surrender to the armed forces of Ukraine, as your colleagues did. And for those who have a desire to continue fighting for a proper future for Russia, there is still an option to join the Legion.
I like that.
Yeah. Volunteers say they're ready to talk to anyone who wishes to turn their weapons against the Kremlin.
Oh, I like that. That's hilariously cool.
Yep.
I hope
So-
there's actually some meat to it. Sorry, Yana, go ahead.
No, I think I also saw that they kind of said alcohol will not be sold in the regions that they place under security. And I'm like, they do realize last time they banned alcohol, it was the end of the USSR.
Wow.
So I'm really kind of hoping that vodka is what drives Russians to rise up. But I'm not holding my hopes.
You know, whether it's the States or it's Soviet, Republic, USSR, it seems like prohibition never works. People want...
It never does.
You ban alcohol and you create gangsters. America proved it. Fact.
I think Putin, this was like around 6 months ago, he put a law in on the limit of alcohol that you can buy.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and they were also going to.
Won't
It
find
wasn't
any
allowed to be
Australians
sold in
going
like.
there.
It was like a limit on also where it's sold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
like-
just in occupied territories or across all of the fake
All of
federations?
Russia.
Well,
Really?
All of Russia. Like,
That's going to make him
and-
real popular.
like not in apartment complexes. And I'm sitting here as a South African. I'm like, you guys have bars and restaurants and liquor stores in apartment complexes. And then I just got messages back from my friends in Eastern Europe, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of common. And I'm like, okay, sorry. Because like we've got really strict alcohol laws here. And then I just hear people going like, oh yeah, it's just there. Well, that's the one thing. But the other thing is the Ukraine's deputy president announced that there will be a humanitarian corridor for civilians from Kursk to Sumy. Yeah, from Sumy. And okay, so they're requesting for that. It's not been like approved yet. But Ukrainians are kind of speaking up about it. It's not the favorite thing because they're like, why should we bring these people here? Why can't they just be on a bus sent further into Russia? Or at least to like the apartments in Bakhmut that they wiped off the face of the earth. And they've killed people, and now we're expected to treat them well.
Yeah.
So I think it also causes a lot of, and I know within with the guys we work with as well, it's kind of a big thing of like, what was this trade-off worth it? Is it worth sending a group of people and well-trained soldiers into Russia? What is the objective going to pay off? Because at the same time, Pokrovsk is in danger. And kind of it's just that point, like, I hope whatever they're planning works out, and I hope as many of our guys survive as what is necessary. But yeah.
Yeah.
Very much, yeah.
No, that sentiment, especially with the brutality that has persisted throughout this whole war, it makes sense that people would be thinking that way. And, of course, these are, unarmed civilians who are coming through, but also there could be a security concern. Look at the situation when people started running to Republic of Georgia and the political changes that have been occurring there with Russification occurring, unfortunately, in that country. So it makes sense that there'd be anxiety around it. At the same time, though, I feel like it's a gamble, but if the gamble hadn't been taken, then Ukraine would still basically be completely on the defensive. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but I do give kudos for innovation and the level of knowledge of what kind of psychological warfare this can conduct against the Kremlin just from the fact that it ever happened at all. So we'll see how it all works out in the end, though.
I mean, the responses from the Russians are just hilarious, demanding that the world condemns Ukraine's invasion. Why doesn't the global community care? I'm like, what rock have you been living under?
Yeah, because you're a fucking bunch of assholes. That's why.
It's like that meme of like, it's like Zelensky, like, look at me, I'm the invader now.
Yeah.
You know?
If I can go back to that $200 donation we had for the NAFO fund, that was Joe Medley. At the time when I got the donation in, I checked for his name in the live chat, but he hadn't texted anything yet, so I couldn't find his name. But he's in the live chat now, so huge thanks, Joe. Huge thanks. There, just got to make sure that dues are paid, right? Okay, we're good. Sorry, I totally derailed that. So whoever, Yana, you were going, or were you done, or?
I was done.
Okay. Should we switch into any of the other news that's going on right now? Actually, while I'm doing that little shout out thing, let me get the super chats in as well. So we had Petra Olsen come in with Swedish kroners, 129 of them, no less, with love to Ukraine. Thank you very much. In the pot it goes. Ruzhina C. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to say that. It's a question here. What is the difference between regular and Spanish flu? You get sick from regular flu, but some Spanish. Or no, I see. I think what flag am I looking at? It's too small on my screen with my I need glasses eyes.
Catalonia? Spaniards would be angry if they heard me say that.
Yeah.
They would. Riots in the chat.
Okay, I've been told I'm actually looking at a Russian flag. It's all blurry to me. Okay, so what's the difference between regular and Russian flu? You get sick from regular flu, but some Russian flew out the window. See, now it actually makes sense. So I should have been able to figure that out. That was a good super chat. Thank you. It was better than how I fucking delivered it. I just want to find out how
bad your eyes are that the Russian flag looks like the Spanish flag. That's all I want to know.
I don't know the flags well. And if this conversation keeps going, my son's going to come down and give us a lesson because he knows every flag, right? Yeah.
It's important to remember that if you have to explain the joke, it isn't funny anymore.
I know, exactly. How train wrecked is this? Let me see if I can do another super chat without completely just going... All right. They exist for a super chat in. These shows in the chat are approved wallet tickling activity. I like that. And I'm on the prudish end of spectrum. Big salute to today's hero Hive. Hey, cool. That was awesome. Extra blast in for that. Thanks. They exist because they do.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Sometimes I should resist the urge to be clever because I usually end up tripping on my untied shoelaces. Where do you guys want to go now? What's the next item up for bids?
Well,
I've got one of two choices.
Well, okay. If we wanted to keep it at least tangentially connected to Ukraine update, we could talk about the state of the U.S. presidential election because that definitely ties in.
There's also the whole thing with Germany wanting to stop aid to Ukraine.
I don't think they said they wanted to stop aid. It said there was no additional aid coming this year.
Well, from what I've heard, that and this is just murmurings or from an article that I read a while back, there's still a lull right now, but I think Rheinmetall is supposedly supposed to be upping to more than 500,000 or 600,000 shells. What was the rate? I'm thinking not per year because that doesn't sound like enough, but I've heard that it's supposed to be upping production soon. But yeah, what was the gist of what you had heard about this, Yona?
So I need to get the actual article, but basically, let me get this. Also, it was, let's see here. Okay. So apparently, also it's thanks to America that Ukraine couldn't fire Storm Shadow missiles into Russia. But the sources are kind of like falling flat a bit because it sounded like a good clickbaity article at first, and then you read it and they're like, "We spoke to someone." So then it's like,
I gotta dig for the sources. I know that there was one from. I've got a source here about the Storm Shadows, and that was supposedly there are 3 nations actually involved in authorization to use them within Russian territory, and those are first the UK, and then the other 2 nations haven't been confirmed. They're speculated, but the other country that helps to produce those weapons, Storm Shadows, and their variant is France. So France is presumed to be the other of the 3 nations who need to provide authorization. And then the final one is presumed to be the US because it could technically be someone else. But I mean, who else really? Yeah, who else really has a big voice regarding this whole conflict? Yeah.
I think Britain and France are the obvious ones because they're co-producers of the weapon. And so they get a definite say in whether or not you get to use their toy in certain ways. The US, I think it's just, they don't want to have a situation where you have philosophies of how to conduct war.
Okay, we lost you for a second. You kind of froze up. We didn't get the last sentence very well. At least I didn't.
Yeah. Okay. What I said was the U.S. is involved in saying whatever they're saying about it because I don't think they want divergent philosophies of how the war should be conducted. So it makes no sense to have Britain and France saying, "Oh yeah, go ahead and shoot targets as deep inside Russia as you want," and the U.S. saying, "No, other than 50 miles from the border of Kyiv, you can't fire into Russia." So they're trying to find a medium ground. Yeah, we'll talk about.
I hear that, but it's not their people dying; it's Ukrainians dying.
I'm not arguing, but I'm saying if you're giving that much aid, you can make that aid contingent. That's a normal part of business. What donor ever at the Met Gala or whatever who donates something doesn't say, "Well, I want you to spend some of it on this particular project."
Right.
It's the same kind of thing here.
Yeah, just at an international geopolitical level.
Exactly.
With people's lives at risk. So
Not arguing with you there. I'm saying that's the way it works. That's life.
Nobody likes politics, but they always involve lives, sadly.
So the article from Ukrainska Prava, the headline is US blocks UK authorization for Ukraine to strike Russia with Storm Shadow missiles. And I'll put the link in the chat, but it's caused because they're scared of escalating the war.
It's a tired excuse at this point.
Yeah, what is Russia going to do?
An article where they were talking about it, and somebody said that's not the entire reason. For some strange argument this guy was making was that the U.S. doesn't want to expend all these particular pieces of special ordnance shooting targets deep inside Russia because they want to husband them since there's only a limited supply. Mm-hmm. It seems like a really specious argument, but I can see somebody deciding that's one of the reasons they don't want to do it. It's a dumb reason.
Yeah.
The deputy spokesperson for the Pentagon said that she actually said that long-range weaponry may not be necessary to help Ukraine liberate its territory.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely a cop
Yeah.
out. And
Planet is that jackass from?
No
That's
doubt.
Sabrina Singh, deputy spokesperson for the Pentagon.
yeah,
I'm like, no, just have the Ukrainians go fight them with like plastic swords.
Well,
You know?
let me also say
Former
this.
Trump appointee says.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me also say this: it's not a direct strike with ATACMS or with anything provided by the U.S. But guys, let's not forget that now territory that was internationally considered part of the Russian Federation is currently under control by the Ukrainian armed forces after everything that's happened in Kursk, and that apparently is a red line that Russia is not really doing that much about. Moscow. There have been drone attacks in Moscow, okay, in the capital of Moscovia. And apparently that wasn't a red line that couldn't be, passed over.
Right.
I mean, eventually we have to get rid of this excuse because I understand nuclear escalation is a very serious topic and no one wants to cause the extinction of the entire human race. But also, using it as an excuse to warmonger and fearmonger, we cannot allow that from the terrorists in Moscow.
It's such a catch-22 situation.
I remember Starsky said on the stream a while back, he said he was talking to Rick, and they basically said, like, nuclear war, we don't give a fuck. We've been living next to Chernobyl so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that too.
Rather grim outlook, but yeah.
Yeah. So here, I want to jump in.
Ukrainian black humor, it's the best.
Yeah. I've seen that side many times through the conflict. Absolutely. We've got our fundraiser going here for the NAFO 69 Sniff and Brigade truck here. The Portuguese battalion have honored Sam Newey, fallen soldier, on their patch there. Great idea. Love it. We hope everybody can jump in and help us get it up to the goal. And I want to flip the script just a second here because there's been some funny stuff on Google reviews in Kursk region recently. So this guy here did a review for a car wash, and it's like, yep, washed up. Thanks. And over here, you've got where is it here? This is I can't even begin to say what that is. If here I can bring it up a bit bigger so everybody can see what I'm pointing at here. But there's some reviews here. Looking forward to visiting the new Ukrainian city again. And there's another one here. Great to see such a beautiful Ukrainian town. There's some really funny stuff going in Google Maps under the reviews. So you go yourself over to the Kursk region and you just start poking around and start seeing what you see, and you'll find some hilarious stuff. Yeah, see here. Welcome to Europe 4 days ago. I don't have a parking spot for my tank. There are no Ukrainian products. Self-service, a very small selection. Super shopping center. I was especially pleased with the new Slippo and its own pastry shop. We're waiting for the opening of the post office, and there's some really funny, Tell me where the Monobank branch is.
Yeah, I also saw that, like, one says Monobank doesn't work here.
Yeah. Welcome to Europe. It's really funny. You can have yourself a blast playing this game. So
I see one here that says there's no Coca-Cola here, but I think they'll bring it in the near future. So for now, 3 stars. When they sell Ukrainian Coke, I'll give it 5.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's one. The wonderful city of Suja, founded by Ukrainian, I think Cossacks is the word there. Sorry, it's the I thing. I'll go get glasses really soon, I promise. The first settlers were Ukrainians, and now it has become Ukrainian again. Glory to the heroes. And look at this picture here. Let me zoom this back in. Public holiday. It's a hilarious game. Go have some fun. Google Maps, everybody. After the show.
after the show.
Yeah, no. Stay here for right now. We've still got more stuff to cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, I guess I could jump into another article right quick. I've got something that's very interesting from the point of international intrigue or espionage, which, let me just share this. So this is from cbsnews.com, and this article has to do with Germany, but it's something that I kind of wish Germany would maybe, I don't know, I want to get to the truth of it, but we'll see. It says Germany seeks Ukrainian suspect in Nord Stream pipeline sabotage, reports say. I don't know if you guys had heard about this recently from back then. German prosecutors have issued an arrest warrant for a Ukrainian man over the 2022 sabotage of the Nord Stream gas pipelines, German media reported Wednesday, with Polish prosecutors confirming they had received the warrant. In the 2 years since the mysterious explosions hit the pipelines, speculation has been rife around who is responsible, with Ukraine and Russia both vehemently denying any involvement. But German media reported on Wednesday that a European arrest warrant had been requested for a Ukrainian man, a diving instructor whose last known address was in Poland. And then there's obviously the rest of the article covering this topic. But I guess just to get to the meat of it, I know because there's been a lot of talk about, Germany, kind of also tying Ukraine's hands a little bit or not. Providing as much as has been hoped for in assistance during this conflict at certain times. What do you guys think of this? I know fingers were pointed in both directions at Ukraine and Russia, and regardless of if it was Ukraine, whether or not it should be something that should become a major international incident. What's everyone's thoughts here on the panel?
I think it's entirely possible because we know, given the number of arrests that have occurred inside Ukraine, that there are plenty of Ukrainians that have been agents working for the Russian government. So I can easily see them hiring a Ukrainian resident in Poland to do this, because that's a great plausible deniability false flag element.
That's fair, because it just says Ukrainian man, but it doesn't say much about links to either or any government.
I wonder how they found out he's Ukrainian. Did he leave his passport at the bottom of the ocean?
Oh. Well, here's the other thing, and I know that this is a fake alias, but also it does lead me to believe that this is someone who is more Z oriented or oriented toward the Russo sphere, because the Polish prosecutor's office, precisely. The Polish prosecutor's office told AFP it had received the warrant for a man named as Volodymyr Z in June in connection with proceedings against him in Germany. So
they're Zelensky just casually bombing up the Nord Stream pipeline.
Anybody whose last name starts with the letter Z is obviously, pro-Russian.
Oh yeah, of course.
We have a question in from a viewer here, Sarah. Can it be talked about how Hungary is making it easier for Russians to enter the country?
Oh, not only that, but also a lot more closer collaboration with China.
Yeah.
We often, on more than one panel, have talked about Hungary, and a lot of honestly, under Orban, a lot of the very questionable policies that have been coming out of that country in recent years, for a while now, actually.
Yeah.
I actually hadn't seen an article about that specifically, but it doesn't surprise me because that's still kind of quietly talked about, but economic ties between Hungary and Russia aren't completely severed or anything right now, like with other EU countries, right?
Orban is totally a sock puppet for Putler. Putler's fist is right up the sock puppet. you know. But I remember this was maybe 2 weeks ago or something was the first announcement that Hungary and Putler's regime and a few have all done sort of what like Canada and the United States have, where you can get a driver's license that's pre-approved and you can just literally drive up to the border crossing, show it, they slide it in a little thingy and you drive through. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's basically what they've done, right? Is they've just turned it into a friendly border that's basically just built on trust, except for, convictions and stuff keep you from crossing, right? But I wouldn't doubt in Hungary, if you're a 3-time over convicted Russian for things, but you're on Putler's A list, you get to walk right through.
Wow. So kind of similar to a certain degree, similar to the hybrid warfare attack using immigration that Belarus tried on Poland a while back, but this time just going straight to the source. Russians being able to easily get into Europe from Hungary.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I suspect at some point the EU and NATO hierarchy has talked about expelling Hungary from the membership.
There has to be background talks already, like people talking to each other, just going, this is unattainable, right? This is, unsustainable.
I think the reason they don't is because if they take that route, they lose any ability to influence what he does.
Yeah. Well, and also because I could see them doing it for a couple reasons with EU membership, or at least with the Schengen zone and, like the tiers of EU membership, like expelling Hungary from, you were in this tier, now you're in a lower tier, so to speak. But with NATO membership, especially because Hungary is fairly close with Turkey, I could see that creating issues, not just with the whole rest of the bloc, but with Turkey specifically, who is a pretty important, whether people like it or not, an important member of the NATO bloc. So it's kind of like I don't know. Part of me really, I do wish that something could be done as far as EU membership for Hungary, but as far as NATO membership goes, I don't see that changing anytime in the near future. It'd be too much of a risk.
Yeah, could very well be.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, if Hungary is pro-Russia, any information they get from meetings with the NATO command hierarchy, they can simply pass that directly to the Russians. So at some point, somebody's going to say, we need to start excluding them and putting them on the back bench.
This is true. I think there are still holdouts who are trying to play the long game of, okay, where people are looking at right now, this conflict and everything in the next 2 years, 5 years. I think there are some who are still holding out. Eventually, there will be a change in government in Hungary. And I don't know if that will or will not come to pass, but I think there are some who still see it as, I don't know how to put it, but kind of like, hopefully domestically and perhaps with a bit of assistance from the international community.
It's the same with Erdogan in Turkey. You've got an authoritarian government that's using the rules to exclude anybody else from having access to any influence or power.
Oh, yeah. And using specific policies to atomize any kind of opposition and keep it fractured and weak. And I think there's some, because Turkey is a completely different beast altogether. I think there are those who hope that things could change in Hungary and somehow change could be brought about within this generation. It just seems very distant because we don't see any visible signs within Hungarian society of that happening anytime soon, At least I haven't personally.
Yeah. Let me jump in with a couple of shout outs here. I don't want to fall too far behind and a bunch have come in. So we got a direct donation in here from Demetrius Ziganovas. Greetings from Kunas, Lithuania. Slava Ukraine in for the Boom Boom Fund. Big shout. Thank you, Demetrius. Thank you very much. And I'm just going to switch to my other window here. Generic username came in, gifting a Shills membership. Razina NC came in with a super chat. Will Ukraine take back their toilet and washing machines? Yeah, because I mean, as far as I understand, Russia still hasn't figured out how to use them. So, it's just surplus. They might as well bring it home, right? We got Don Stellan gifting out a Shills membership. Spider Fate gifting out a Shills membership. Love the gifted membership, guys. Thank you very much. Generic username in with a super chat. Do you think the Shills made the FSB hit list? Wouldn't that be freaking hilarious? Not that it matters. They can't even handle yesterday's events. Yeah, imagine if they're bothering to watch. Wouldn't that be awesome? I would welcome it because they'd be wasting their time focused on us, and that's people that aren't actually doing anything that's going to help, right? So come on, boys, bring it on. We're really dangerous. You better be watching us. And then we got Hobby Time coming in with a message too here. Because of food shortages, the Russians are ordering a record number of Chinese takeaways. Oh, that's funny. Yes, and I'm caught up now, so we're all good. Where's the next stop for this train we're riding on?
Well, I've got some news about Italian journalists in being threatened by Russia. If we want to.
Oh yeah, and there's also that amateur ballerina girl. She they found on her phone that she had donated $50 to a Ukrainian humanitarian aid charity, and she's convicted and got 12 years for treason.
Yeah, no, and if I'm not mistaken, she is a dual citizen of both Russia and the United States. Yeah, so that's Russia really. Let me just say this: when it comes to insidious hybrid warfare, where it's like we're not at war with you, we're not dropping bombs, but we are hacking you and arresting citizens of your country because we feel we have a right to, and immigration, weaponized immigration, stuff like that. Dear God, they will pull out every dirty trick in the book. Well, got some volume there for a sec.
Yeah, I'm just doing a thingy here. Okay, so it doesn't see your mic. You're probably going to have to rejoin so that VDO can see that mic is plugged in now. Okay. She had something unplugged to charge something else, and there was this thing, and now I think VDO is confused, so she'll just jump right back in. I noticed she was saying something, and we couldn't hear anything, right? So, yeah. I think it just got confused with everything getting changed around. Let's see here. I'm trying to. There was something I wanted to bring up, but I didn't make notes pre-stream because I was jumping around.
Was it the Project Constantine fundraiser? I think it was the fundraiser.
Which is at over 100,000 British pounds right now, if I'm not mistaken.
That's amazing. It is. It's awesome. And this week, we bought 2 cars on auction in the UK. Yeah. So they will be coming. In total, we will have 3 new cars coming to Ukraine. Not new, but from the UK, 3 cars. And then we're going to fix them up and give them to the guys. And we're also getting another NAFO truck.
Awesome.
Which is awesome. And then today we had a patch raffle that Halia was like, why did you give 10 patches? That's money and shipping. And I'm like, we'll deal with it. Just 10 patches, okay?
Yeah.
And so that went well, even though I had some audio issues and it was much more respect to you. That's all I'm saying. All I want to say. You and Sekai, like, well done for you too. But yeah, it's really cool.
Awesome. 100K, major effort. That's insanity. That's awesome.
That is insane.
Yeah.
By the way, Yana, I wanted to ask because all the different means of donating for Project Constantine, because there's been I'd covered it on my channel before, like a bigger crackdown internationally on business with Russian financial institutions and the Russian Federation, companies from Russia. But also, unfortunately, some companies have been lazy and are also choosing not to do business with
Buy
more
me a
Ukraine.
coffee.
Yeah, yep, exactly. That's one example. None of that's been affecting Project Constantine so far, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, I was very proactive in that point and made sure not to set up our Buy Me a Coffee in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And our Stripe it had to be switched from, I had to create a new Stripe account because it was set with Pete's address. Now it is with one of our volunteers in Belgium. And I remember, because I always plan like for what ifs. And Pete just at one point said, like, Yana, your new name is Oracle. Because whatever I said, I'm like, you know what? We might be going extreme here, but let's just do this in case this happens. And then Pete was like, it's not going to happen. I'm like, just trust me on this. And then it happens. He's like, your new name is Oracle.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yeah. On Trident's, for the stuff that's outside of Ukraine, I'm thinking of doing Ko-Fi, and then for the stuff inside Ukraine, we're still exploring options for that.
Yeah.
I know Monobank has base now.
Yes, and Monobank Base is great, and it's been working for several people, but I know for a fact, because my banks have had issues with it, that for some it's still like it'll go through once, and then it'll start flagging like, oh, is this a fraud? Fraud alert.
Yeah.
So unfortunately.
Yeah, the only right after the whole thing with Buy Me a Coffee, Google took away all AdSense payouts to Russia. So, and AdSense, if you don't know, that's how you get all your money from YouTube. And it's people that put ads out to make money by putting ads on websites and all that stuff. All that money's gone now. Russia makes none.
Oh,
so
yeah. And
that was a good turn on Google's side, because we're talking about a decent chunk of cash here. Like, seriously, right?
Oh, yeah. And I don't know if it was a blip, like it was temporary, or if it still is blocked. But I had heard that for a while, at least, all of YouTube was completely blocked in Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they did it on purpose. Russia did it on purpose.
Yeah.
They've now slowed down the loading speed of YouTube. And Russians are blaming America for it. It's not Russia. They are throttling us, and this is a sanction, and we're like,
something went wrong.
No,
something went wrong. Blame the Yanks. That's Nate. The tale as old as time, going back to the Soviet era.
Yeah.
Slavy,
can we hear Slavy yet?
Yeah.
Am I back?
Oh, yes, you are.
Yes.
There we go. Okay, good.
Yes.
Awesome. There was a question in the chat here. I'll turn to Commander McMillan first. Comment on the Baltic states possibly going into Ukraine to fight. This was being talked about this morning. The news seems to have broken out. I
don't think the governments of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia are likely to send their troops. It would be dangerous, because doing so effectively embroils them in a war with Russia, such that if Russia were then to attack them, Article 5 being invoked could be difficult. Because it's a pre-existing war. So I don't think they're likely to do that now. I know there's considerable, I won't say pressure, but people talking about why aren't we doing this in those countries. So what I could see is that the government's kind of semi-covertly facilitating people who want to go and helping them, get to Ukraine and volunteer services, and maybe equipping them as they're leaving and that kind of stuff. That might be a possibility.
Right.
But actual national forces being sent, I think, is highly unlikely. We're seeing the same kind of agitation to some extent going on in Poland too. And it's the same situation. But the countries are wise enough to understand the ramifications of sending their own troops into the fight.
Right.
That being said, though, what you just mentioned about Poland specifically, and if I'm not mistaken, I saw James, I think, on his channel why Ukraine? He had mentioned about a legion that like a foreign legion for Ukraine that is completely based in Poland. And it's not an official part of the Polish government, but kind of like you're saying, maybe they get a little support. Maybe they get
It's
a
the
little
equivalent of what the U.S. did prior to the start of World War II, or our involvement in it. And we had what was called the American Volunteer Group, or the Flying Tigers, where they recruited pilots who flew for the nationalist Chinese. So you can certainly do something like that. You've effectively set up a private company, and you send private citizens, even though they're, by some strange quirk, all serving military officers who were on sabbatical from the U.S. military, kind of thing.
Right. Not to go off topic, but maybe someone needs to ring up Taiwan and be like, hey, maybe we should bring back the Flying Tigers sometime.
I think Taiwan wants to hang on to all their pilots for themselves.
Yeah, ain't that the fact?
Oh, yeah, they're staring down the barrel of a gun right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a separate topic we could do a whole show on.
Big time.
I've talked about it before, and I think it's a highly unlikely thing. I think it's one of those little drums that China likes to bring out and bang on periodically when there are problems going on, to let people know they're very upset.
Damn wind-up monkeys.
Populace from the failings of the central government.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that, exactly like Commander said, it isn't likely to happen anytime soon, but I think that complacency is something China will take advantage of if they ever do decide to act within the next half a century. Yep.
You guys were talking about Russians and visas, but have you seen this story? It came out yesterday, and it's about a Russian tourist in Thailand who tried to rape a cow.
Yes, my God, we had it on our show yesterday, and I wasn't sure if I was going to piss my pants laughing or puke. It was just the most ridiculous thing.
Sorry, trigger warning before, but
I think it has less to do with the fact he was Russian than it has to do with the fact it was in Thailand. We'll leave it at that.
Oh, man.
Just like, do you want to prove to us how bad you are? Like, come on, you don't have to live up. Like, we know you don't have to show us.
Yeah.
It's like we have this thing. Like, I feel like maybe it's Russian kids don't get taught this, but it's kind of like when you're in a public place or in a new place, you act your best because you're a representative of where you come from. And maybe that's just not. Either in Russia, it's like show them the worst so that we can look good when they come here, or this is just them on their best behavior. I'm not sure which one of the two it is.
It just shows that Russians are not for the free world.
I just got to say this. Do you guys remember there was a thing with India before where they were upset with Ukraine about there was some artwork that included a Hindu, I think it was Vishnu, a Hindu goddess, that was posted like last year or late 2022. Someone needs to call the embassy of India in Ukraine and in Russia and tell them, did you see what this man did to a cow in Thailand?
Try
to do that cow.
I'm definitely team
cow.
cow.
Doesn't happen, none of it.
If you read through the story, the guy's naked. He first approaches a bull and then goes to the cow. And I'm thinking, what? Is he like asking permission? Hey, buddy, do you guys swing that way? You mind if I go see her? Like, I was shocked. I just looked up.
This Russian is into bestiality, not homosexuality, okay? That's all it is. He's got preferences.
You'll forgive me. I don't want to insult the Thai people. I love Thailand. I've been there many times, but that is just one of the weirdest places with all the stuff that goes on sexually. You get all these sex tourists that go to the country, and it's like, what is with you people? I mean, every deviant on the planet goes straight for that one location.
Yeah.
Well, You know, I won't say it out loud, but we all know the name of the capital.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an interesting name. I wonder what it means.
We've got a couple of shout outs here, at least one of them anyway. S. Wolf put a message through on that Ko-Fi site. Slava Ukraine, and huge thanks to all Ukrainian defenders, all veterans, and Dick and the team. Hey, thanks. Keep up the great work. Love you guys. And yeah, so huge hearts and thanks there. I think there might be another email thing or something that I have to look at. I'm this Ko-Fi place. I'm only just learning to keep it open during the show because things actually come from it, and I'm not the best with it. So, oh, and we have another message on Ko-Fi as well. Is that how I'm supposed to say it? But Bombsheller came in with love to Ukraine. So here we go. See, it's a good thing I got this open now. So I'll keep it up so you guys can use that if you want.
Oh yeah, and to answer your question, Dick, I think it is Ko-Fi because it's both a play on coffee and lo-fi, like lo-fi beats.
Oh, okay.
Clever.
Got it.
Cool. I get it now. That makes even more sense. Super chat in from Tracy Berry. Sky News have reported that a 7.2 magnitude quake has struck off the east coast of Russia, Kamchatka Peninsula, with a tsunami warning issued. Oh, wow.
I mean, Mother Nature hates Russia.
That we know. That we know.
You stole the words out
Shout
of my
out
mouth.
to the shark.
The auguries are poor.
You know,
Great leader Putin.
when Mother Nature decides to bitch slap the fatherland.
Wow, I'll have to check that out after.
Lord.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you, Tracy, too.
I saw a thing. So TED Talks. Well, there was a Ukrainian professor who spoke at a TEDx event in Ukraine at the Ukrainian Catholic University. And then TED Talk said, we're not uploading this because they say they wanted to stay neutral. And this guy has used inflammatory language, portraying basically an us versus they thing. And they want to stay neutral. They don't want to upload it. And they've highlighted some of their issues that they have problems with. They've highlighted like one part where he says Russians, as their great event, are trying to appropriate the joint victory over German fascism, but as always, they are stealing. However, there is nothing new here. Russians are being Russians. Okay. And basically, they've gone on and they've said, this is what was said. And TEDx highlighted, this is a problem.
Right.
And then the TEDx UCU of the university, they said, here's our argument on it. In this excerpt, Maxim addressed the dominant approach in Russia, with the lowercase r, of course, to the interpretation of the events of World War II, in particular the modernization of the Great Patriotic War narrative, to articulate the feat by silencing the millions of victims, including in Ukraine, and maintaining its influence on post-Soviet countries. The phrase Russians are being Russians refers to the appropriation of what is associated with the historical and cultural heritage of Ukraine. It is a systematic thing, and this is what Maxim articulates. So the whole thing, he's like, they were like, this is our problem. He said this. They were like, cool, this is why it's relevant in context.
Right.
But yeah, TED was like, this is inflammatory.
Wow.
And I'm
No
just like, okay,
backbone
cool.
there.
So,
Yeah.
nope, you can't talk shit about Russia. Sorry. And this is a guy was a professor and is now fighting in Ukraine. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Now that's sad to hear. That's sad to hear, you know.
Yeah.
That's a bummer for sure. Just let me check here and make sure I'm caught up. I am. Okay. That Ko-Fi place has me triple checking the site now and then. I don't know if I'm going to get a beep from it. I still don't really know how it works. Oh, here we go. Jean-Marc Paganel came in with a super chat. I think that's direct quote from Ukrainians stealing a sign in Russia. This is for the toilets you stole. Russia's never going to live down the whole toilet thing. In 200 years from now, if they actually get their shit together and become human beings and actually join the world, properly instead of the way they are, they'll still be known as toilet thieves, man. They will. It'll never leave them.
My favorite video from Kursk is a Ukrainian soldier takes a Russian T-72 tank and rolls it through Kursk, blasting Gangsta Gangsta with a Ukrainian flag by Dr. Fresh. That is gangsta. If you think about it, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I like the one where they were basically pulling a show. What's the guy from Wagner? I forgot his name.
Shoy.
I know. I said the same almost.
Prigozhin.
Prigozhin. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Eugenie Prigozhin.
Yeah. So they had a whole thing where they were like,
He wasn't a bodyguard. He was a chef.
they had this whole thing where they made fun of him, and basically had their own little skit where they were like, picks up a phone, Shoigu, Gerashimov. That was also quite good.
I'm sorry, I just have to make a horrible pun right quick, but I just want to say that Putin's chef got his just desserts.
Oh, that's funny.
I think he even predicted Prigozhin in his video that this was going to happen about Kursk.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me because, kind of like was mentioned earlier, the rumor that there might have been those within Russia who knew about Kursk or at least suspected that it would happen. Like, it might not even have been like, oh, we have intelligence ahead of time that it is happening. It could have just been, we're stupid for not having soldiers here and assuming it won't happen.
Yeah.
I've been hearing analysts and they're saying like Russia knew about it.
Wow.
Obviously not. Yeah. I mean, of an operation that size is pretty hard to.
Oh, guys, I am so sorry. I just realized that I completely forgot that I have another meeting that I have just gotten a text that I'm late for. So I've got to go. All right. But it was great being here, everybody. And I will see you all next week.
Go, buddy. Take it easy, man. Awesome.
Bye.
Bye.
Toodles.
All right. Yeah, I've got to watch the time too. I can hear my son getting a little bit more escalated in the background right now. And he's had a very autistic day. So I don't want it to get, any further. I got to make sure, right? Anyway, the man of the wood came in with a super chat here. I never understood why they stole toilets, not even having the running water. Yeah, I mean, like if you don't have the infrastructure, the thing is useless.
Well,
but they didn't understand that they
sit on.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand. They thought it was the seat that does it.
If you're sitting on an outhouse, and that splintery board that you sit on, that's not pleasant. So you steal one of these toilets and you mount it there instead of that. It's a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
That's too crafty for Russians.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grant you that.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh yeah, and my son. Okay, you'll have to 1 second here. Give me a second. I just got to make sure that everything's settled.
Okay. I think my favorite news story from the week is Washington's response to Putin when I think it was John Kirby that said, "Get the hell out of Ukraine." When Russia or Putin complained about the Kursk incursion, John Kirby went on the media and said, "Yeah, our response is get the hell out of Ukraine." In those words, direct quote.
Yeah.
Okay, everything was actually fine. What I was hearing was some neighbor kid that's outside losing his mind. That's what it was. So, okay, I'm good for now. You never know. You gotta know, right? You know.
I don't know if you guys are on Twitter and saw the meltdown that the Red Cross had. Yeah, they were like, we always go, we help the prisoners of war according to the Geneva Convention, and then Ukrainians and everyone who supports Ukraine were like, yeah, well, where the hell are you in Ukraine? So they put out a tweet and said, people are asking what we do for Ukraine. Here's what we do. We've visited X amount of soldiers on both sides. I'm like, and we continue to do X, Y, and Z. And people were like, no, we're not asking what you do in Ukraine. We're asking what you do in Russia. That's the actual question. And that comes just earlier today or yesterday. Russia's 155th Marine Brigade posted a video with the head of a Ukrainian prisoner of war that was cut off and put on a spear.
Yeah.
And 95%.
Sorry, I don't think that's verified just yet.
Not
the video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but 95% of Ukrainian POWs experienced tortures in Russian captivity, which was confirmed by a UN report. And then the Red Cross is like, yeah, we actually visit everyone. But you're like, so you either visit them, see this happening, and you're like, yeah, this is cool, or you don't visit them, because both can't be true at the same time.
Yeah. There's and there's like, there's the side, like, the aggressor, there's so many like, war crimes and stuff being acted. I can see the Red Cross, after all is said and done, helping that side because it's rebuild time. There's no war, everything's settled and stuff. But to be helping the aggressor, I'm just a little unsure of. It doesn't quite sit right,
Yeah. I mean, there was that one case of a girl who thought she was going with a Red Cross corridor, or UN corridor. Yeah. And they took her to a Russian camp, so you're kind of wondering what's going on with Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Or with the organizations, rather, that's supposed to help but don't.
Yeah. Let's see here. So where are we at? Hour 20. Okay. Commander, anything we haven't covered yet that in a Nets Awesome News brief that you wanted to get to or anything?
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything that occurred in the past week that's worth discussing, at least Ukraine-wise.
Yeah. U.S. election-wise, because it does matter, we could just touch on it quick before we're done, but I'm liking what I'm hearing as a Canadian watching from the outside. My sense of things is the whole Harris and Walz campaign is now the one that's got the proper momentum. There's that group and evangelicals for Harris that came out, and they're going at Trump for being basically a fake Christian and going for the votes. And
there's even rumblings within the GOP hierarchy about getting him off the ballot.
At this point, I'm not surprised because there's almost no politics.
The other day, he said something that was like, this woman I awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to is far superior to people who've been given the Medal of Honor, because most of them have been either wounded or killed. So she's obviously better. It's like, how can anybody who's a veteran vote for a guy who says that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Insane shit coming out of his mouth.
There was
Commander, isn't Vance also a veteran?
Yeah, he's, I believe he's an ex-SEAL.
Yeah, so it kind of also just like puts that question of like, you're with a guy and support a guy who says statements like that. Like,
yeah. JD Vance came out against Walls and said, "Oh, but you gave up your service in the National Guard right before deployment to Iraq or whatever." He was at 24 years, so 4 years after retirement date anyway. And Jesse Ventura was on a, the ex-wrestler governor guy, right? He was on interview today on the news, and he lost his mind going at JD Vance for attacking him. It was hilariously good. When you've got people like Jesse Ventura making fun of you, like, I mean, come on.
Vance has made clear that he's one of those people that doesn't think you're a real man if you haven't killed somebody. I'm serious. That's I've met SEALs that are like that. They think that's the measure of your worth.
Oh, speaking of which, I should qualify. Jesse Ventura was a Navy SEAL in Vietnam, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He was he was one of the tough guys, right? But yeah, quick shout out here from Blonde Bombsheller in the chat, no less. Here, we'll get the hearts to go. There we go. Thank you to all who defend and support Ukraine. Special shout out to Dick and the amazing team. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you for keeping Ukraine in your hearts and on the people's minds. Love to everybody. That's Blonde Bombsheller. Good shout out there. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just check the other feeds to make sure I'm caught up. Yeah. Okay. Good. So yeah, I mean, from the outside, I see the election going the way that I would like to see it go, in so much as the support for Ukraine is concerned, right?
Yep.
I like that very much. I think Trump's grasping at straws now is making him look bad, right?
Yeah. Honestly, at this point, I'm less concerned about the presidential side of the election than I am about the congressional side.
Okay.
Because if you don't put the president in a position where he has a Congress that will work with him and can pass legislation, you're not achieving as much as you potentially could.
Yeah. Slavy's just having an issue with electricity there. Everything went pop because I think she was running her AC and a couple things a bit hard. So she's going to try to rejoin as soon as she can here. I don't know that we'll be on, though, because I do hear a little bit of fussing, and I think I'm getting close to where I better get back to parenting, but we'll see.
We're an hour and a half into it, so it's probably reasonable.
Yeah, so let's see here. Well, we'll turn to Yana here. Any shout outs and last thoughts and whatnot before we toss this one in the bag?
Just continue to support Ukraine. Thank you for everyone's donations. And we are not yet done with the fundraiser. We're a third there, but that's usually when fundraisers start to slow down. And then so if you guys could please donate that. Also, thank you to the people who've adopted Starlinks. We are so close with the patch. It looks awesome. It looks so cool. So as soon as we have that, we'll be sending that to Starlink parents. And for that, that's on Buy Me a Coffee. And other than that, continue to support Ukraine, guys.
Good shout indeed. Good shout. Let's see here. Commander, what do you think, buddy?
Closing words? The usual. Please write your congressional officials, both at the state and federal level, and keep pressure on people to support Ukraine. I think that's critical to making sure that this debacle turns out successfully for the right side.
Yeah. Good words for sure there. Tyler Dowdy in the chat there. Vance was a Marine military correspondent. So, yeah. And he's going at Walls, who served 24 years.
Yeah. And one has to wonder, where does this "I was a SEAL" thing come from?
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
gonna have to look into that.
Maybe he had a seal on the couch one day.
Well, I've heard of people who they get accepted into the program and then drop out of BUDS, which is the Basic Underwater Demolition School. So they never actually get their SEAL Trident. So, but they claim because they, were in the SEAL training pipeline at some point that,
Right.
I was a SEAL.
Right.
It's like saying you're a college graduate because you ate lunch in the cafeteria.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's more like attending a few classes. They're like,
yeah, you lived across the street from one, right?
I went to Harvard, right across the road from it.
Yeah. So let's see here. Reminder again, NAFO fundraiser we got going on. Donations coming through us are going there. We're going to be focused on it a lot this month because we want to get it really going. It's gone up during the show. So thank you to everybody who's been able to grab the link and make use of it because every little bit helps. Let's get another truck over there and help some of the armed forces fighting and medics and all the people it takes to rid the world of Orchistan aggression. Huge shout out here to our team. Annette, she runs the teams in the background there. We've got Shayna Caldwell, Liam Wakefield, Crazy Cat, and Super Chat Matt. So thanks everybody. We couldn't do the show without you. We've got PubChat tomorrow. There was a few people getting confused on this. I was going to bring it up till the end, but my birthday is tomorrow. Right. And there was a few people that thought it might have been today. It is tomorrow. So we're going to, drink on PubChat tomorrow and have some fun. We'll get the event posted. And a shout out to Anna from Ukraine, who's having her birthday today. So right on. Awesome. You can tell she's a Leo because she really owns it when she's on her show, right? You got to love that girl. So thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks to everybody who supports us and members up and super chats and donates and gets the cash to the Ukrainian hands that need it to make sure that they can keep their home turf sovereign. And congratulations to Kursk. Welcome to the free world. Take care, everybody. See you soon. Slava Ukraine.
Slava.
Awesome.